Alright, back with more of The Great Ace Attorney. We're in the middle of Chapter 4. We're about 4 hours in. We haven't even gone to court yet. We still haven't even accepted the case, but I think we're very close to doing that. We just discovered that Mr. Garrideb's maid is actually his wife, so we're going to pick up from there. It's these dashed long winter nights, you see? Nothing to do but read in front of the fire. Luckily, there's a jolly good second-hand bookshop just around the corner. Buy all my old novels there. And in the pages of one particular novel, you discovered some rather illicit material, for which your wife admonished you harshly, it seems. Don't know about admonished. Demolished might be rather closer to the mark. And beast is most certainly an... Ah! Here we go again. And the carpet. Was that destroyed by fire when a candle fell on the floor? Afraid to say it was. Happened in the blink of an eye, you know? The whole place filled with smoke. Couldn't see a belly thing. I was caught between the old stick's rage and the raging flames. You paint a torrid picture, sir. One that would have been most entertaining. That's sympathy for you. Didn't take long for the fire to spread, of course. The belly furniture started going up as well. We've had to hide the mess behind that screen for the time being. Over here, Mr. Garrideb? Well, you have nothing more to hide now, if you'll allow me. And all my favorite old novels in that case. But as soon as the fire got hold of them, that was it. Whoosh, up in smoke. Gosh. Then the wife started hurling things at me. What a terrible sight it must have been. There I was, backed up against the window under heavy fire, incendiary books coming 10 to the dozen. Worst of it is, I lost my favorite. Book called The Lion's Pride. The Lion's Pride. Ah yes, your notorious love for big cats coming through again. I assure you that title didn't influence my choice in the slightest. So the poor man really did lose something dear to him as a result of the ferocious beast's rampage. Mr. Sholmes's deductions turned out to be correct once again. It can only be described as a great British wonder. I tell you, it was total carnage, flames everywhere, and the old stick in full fettle. Out of interest, what time of day was that? Not sure I can remember. It was 2 days ago now. Let's see. Around 5 o'clock, I think. So at exactly the same time as the terrifying incident was unfolding outside your window on the street below. Even more terrifying on the inside, I can assure you. The whole of Blightly could have been flattened outside my window at that moment, and I wouldn't have noticed a dashed thing. Oh, really? This guy might be my new favorite character. Mr. Sholmes. Yes, Mr. Naruhodo? What can I do for you? Well, I think we've got to the bottom of Mr. Garrideb's situation now. But what does it have to do with Mr. Natsume's circumstances? Can't help you there, I'm afraid. What? My dear fellow, if you recall, I did say as much from the outset. I warned you that although I knew the retired army man to be hiding something, I could not be sure whether his secret would prove to be of relevance or not. I just knew you were going to say that. No, Mr. Naruhodo, you mustn't lose heart. Bear in mind that all things fall into one of only two categories, those relevant to the case and those not. That makes no sense to me. Well, no matter. It is of far greater importance that you make up your mind now. Sorry? Visiting hours at the prison will soon be over. Oh no, is it that time already? If we're to accept Mr. Natsume's case, we have official paperwork to attend to. So that's it. Oh, so that's it. No more time to think. Perhaps you'd like to betake yourselves to bidding us farewell now. I must prepare supper for Mr. Geradeb. Oh yes, I'm so sorry. Thank you both very much for your time. Soseki will be waiting for us. And I'm going to have to give him an answer. Okay, I guess we're gonna move on to the prison. This game is amazing. I guess we're not going to the prison. It's time, Mr. Naruhodo. We must hurry back to the prison. Yes, I know. Let's hail a Oh. What's the matter? It looks like something's going on over there in front of old Geradeb's house. What is that? I know thee not, old man. Fall to thy prayers. Who are you calling old man, you rum-looking niminy-piminy? There are more things in heaven and earth, Horatio, than are dreamt of in your philosophy. Who's this Horatio fella, eh? What are you on about? Excuse me. Hey, what the... Who are you now? I'm sorry, it just looked as though there might be some problem here. And my associate here, Mr. Rinosuke Naruhodo, is a lawyer, you see. Eh? A lawyer? What? If I can be of any assistance, I'd be happy to help. I'm from England, but I have studied English law. What is this guy, like an ambulance chaser now? Fine. I'll be on my way for today. But you mark my words. This ain't over yet. This ain't over. Get thee to a nunnery. Do I look like a bloomin' nun to you? What is that? I do hope you're not injured. Oh, fair Eastern maiden, thou art so gentle, thank you. What was that all about? There are more things in heaven and earth, Horatio, than are dreamt of in your philosophy. I'm not Horatio either. Forgive the inquiry, sir, but... Are you a lodger here, in the Geradeb's residence? Oh, fair Eastern maiden, thou art so right. Yes, I do dwell in this humble abode. Mr. Geradeb mentioned that he had another lodger, didn't he? This must be the man. Do you happen to know the other lodger who lives on the first floor? Ah, yes, a gentleman named Natsume. Or, oh, more worthy a polemist in my battle over... Oh, more worthy a polemist in my battle of words ne'er could there be. Sorry, battle did you say? Who is the stronger, Hamlet or Macbeth? Mr. Natsume and I sparred long into the night. I see. I don't fully understand, but it seems Mr. Natsume and this gentleman are acquaintances at least. So, fair maiden, so good gentleman. I can tarry here no longer. Fare thee well. What a weirdo. Didn't really understand him, but I think he's returned to his room. Seems he's unaware of what's happened to Mr. Natsume, so he can't really help us. With Soseki and that man as lodgers, the Garradev house is certainly full of eccentrics. Anyway, I'll go and find a carriage. Yes, I'm sure Mr. Natsume is eagerly awaiting our return. Let's hope we can get to the prison before visiting hours are over. Looks like we made it. Oh, it's you. You're here. You came. Locum student, Mr. Naruhodo Esquire. I can't believe you came back. I'm so touched. Touched is more like it. We are so sorry to have kept you waiting, Mr. Natsume. Oh, no. Think nothing of it. Relax. If I were a cat, I would purr with pleasure at the company of such fine compatriots. Noble, nurturing, never-failing Nipponese. Oh, now let's not get carried away. Oh, I quite agree. There is nothing more reassuring than the familiarity of one's native land. On the other hand, it is through friendship transcending international borders that one truly appreciates the fact. Such is my belief, at least. Oh, it's you! The miserable, rotten spy, Hairlock Sholmes. Mr. Sholmes, what are you doing here? I have no intention of doing anything, per se. Save observing, of course. Whatever do you mean, Mr. Sholmes? Well, having encountered some curious reading material in that gloomful room, and having unmasked the secret identity of that eccentric pair, I decided I should drop in on my way home to see how our divested friend is faring. Gloomful room? At least your accommodation here offers a window, my dear fellow. In that sense, it is the superior option. Anyway, I must commend you on your taste in books. My day has been a delight and cost me not a penny. You! How dare you, Hairlock Sholmes? I've had it. I'm through. I'm at the end of my rope. I should never have come to Great Britain. It was a terrible mistake. Haunted by spirits in those accursed lodgings. No doubt my luck will be cursed in tomorrow's trial as well. My whole life is bedamned. What are you thinking, Mr. Naruhodo? He mentioned that once before, didn't he? That his lodgings were cursed, I mean. And there is much truth in Mr. Mustache's words, says Sholmes. What? Cursed is a wholly appropriate description, I would say. For the man's lodgings, and indeed for tomorrow's trial. What's that supposed to mean? Mr. Natsume, what did you mean by what you said just now? About the trial tomorrow being cursed. Oh no. Why are you looking so grave? You're making me nervous. I was just getting carried away, that's all. I didn't mean anything by it. Rinosuke's talking. Oh, I see. That's really agitating him. You don't mean the trial is cursed somehow? Are you referring to the prosecutor, the Reaper of the Bailey? The Reaper? Oh no, what do you mean? Please tell me, summarize it succinctly in 16 salient words. No defendant has ever survived a trial in which the Reaper stands for the prosecution. Ever. Oh my goodness! Can it really be true? That was 16 words exactly. Yesterday, Mr. Naruhodo successfully defended someone against the Reaper. But then, after the trial was over, whoosh, he was dead. The defendant passed away in unusual circumstances. Mr. McGilded. What? I'm impressed, Miss Susato. You have an eye for detail. Actually, the Lord Chief Justice told us. Mr. Sholmes? Surely it can't be that, having failed to have the accused convicted, Lord Van Zeeks killed the man himself. No. Oh, no, he couldn't have, surely. Stop calling me Shirley. You have some wonderful notions. Sorry? The man isn't a mass murderer. He's a court prosecutor, my dear fellow. Oh, yes. Why, of course he is. Of course he is? Then why are you trying to scare me? It could be said, however, that the real truth about the man is even more terrifying than your hypothesis. What on earth do you mean by that? Van Zeeks is a quite exceptional man. However, in London courts of law, exceptional does not equate to winning every case without exception. That's good. Suseki looks like he's going to cry tears of joy. As you are no doubt aware, in a British criminal trial, there is both a judge and a jury. The judge officiates based on the letter of the law, whilst the jury offers public opinion and common sense. It is an excellent system whereby the defendant's guilt is considered from several points of view. However, public opinion, in particular, is somewhat easily manipulated. Right. Criminals and corrupt lawyers, for that matter, can use it to their advantage. By any means at their disposal, contriving evidence, calling imposters as witnesses, and so on. By such underhand means, those who would want to are able to sway the jury, which means that even in the light of irrefutable evidence, the prosecution can fail. But it means the wrong verdict can be passed. And sadly is from time to time, my dear madam. It is simply the reality of the situation. And that's all right. However, those indicted by Lord Van Zeeks cannot escape justice. Their fate is sealed. Oh my. Though the adjudication may see them leave the courtroom with their freedom, within months they all disappear. It is most striking. Disappear? But how? By all manner of misfortune, sir. Perhaps they are trampled under a passing carriage. Perhaps they fall into the is it the Thames or the Thames River? I've heard both. They fall into the Thames and drown. Perhaps they are suddenly overcome by a raging fever, or perhaps attacked by highwaymen. Oh, no. All examples of the reality of events here in London, I'm afraid, Mr. Naruhodo. I knew it. I'm a dead dodo, done for, doomed. Accursed lodgings. What's this all about? When you said accursed lodgings before, You were referring to your room at Mr. Garadeb's house, I assume. Do you mean to say you believe the place is cursed? It's been a year now since I came to Great Britain, but I'd only been in London a week before I started to notice strange feelings in myself. That didn't take long then. Everywhere I looked, there were foreign faces staring at me, laughing behind my back. I was sure people were talking about me. I started to become nervous about going outside. They were always staring at me all the time, from dawn till dusk. So I shut myself away in my room, but even that didn't help. The fear wouldn't go away. You must have been very lonely, having been away from your homeland for such a long time. I've had to move a number of times, most recently to that room on Briar Road a week ago now. Yes, why did you choose there? It seems a little inconvenient. The rent is cheap. I have so little money. It appealed to me straight away. Of course, I asked why it was so affordable. The landlord just simpered and said, "The room is cursed." Oops. He quickly tried to cover his mistake, but it was too late. So I told him, "If you have something to say, then say it. If not, don't mention it in the first place." Yes, well said. But it was true. All of it. It was all true. You mean the room really is cursed then? Ever since I moved into that windowless hellhole, my sleep has been plagued with nightmares. I awake feeling as though I'm being choked to death. And in my waking hours, people are stabbed in front of me as I walk down the street. I'm branded a killer, thrown in prison, and nobody wants to know me. I'm surrounded by scary, sinister spirits. Only there was someone, just one person on my side. Can no one find it in his or her heart to believe in me? Really, no one at all? To believe? Yes, to believe. To believe or not to believe, that is the question. Mr. Sholmes. Ah, me, Mr. Naruhodo? Pray, what can I do for you? It's about the case on the SS Burya, if you recall. The Burya. Ah, that case. The one with the snake. Well, yes. At the time, I was a suspect, but you believed in me and listened to my side of the story. And you helped us to investigate. I did I? Interesting. What I want to know is, why? Why did you believe me? I see, yes. You mean because you were a grimly dressed, shady Eastern fellow found with the victim in a locked room? Well, if you like, yeah. I'm a little surprised that the answer requires explanation, my dear fellow. It's quite simple, really. You said I didn't do it. But I could have been lying. Surely you must have had your doubts. You must have suspected me a little. Except he pulled the seal off the door of the vanity, or whatever you call it. So he had to know that Naruhodo was locked inside. Not locked inside, but he couldn't have opened the door without removing the seal. I think perhaps you have misunderstood. I neither recall believing in you, nor I neither recall believing in you, nor in that which you were telling me. What? You see, the only things I believe in are those I choose to believe in. Well, that's reassuring. What do you mean, Mr. Sholmes? I make up my own mind about what it is to be what is to be believed and what is not. If I should like to believe in something, I do. The circumstances can hang as far as I'm concerned. But I could have betrayed your trust. In that case, I should have made an elementary error of judgment, nothing more. Betrayal of trust is an overused excuse in my opinion. Meaning, whether or not one should trust another is, in the final analysis, down to oneself. It is a matter of whether or not one can trust oneself. Yes, he's right. He's right, locum student, Mr. Naruhodo, Esquire. Whether or not I can believe myself. A defense lawyer is only as good as his faith in his client. And that comes down to how much faith he has in himself. You're so right, Kazuma. Well, my dear fellows, it is time we were leaving, I believe. Already? Visiting hours are over. The guard will be here shortly to escort us out. There is a restaurant near here that serves excellent trout. Would you care to join me? Oh dear, there is never enough time, is there? Mr. Natsume, if you'd like, in the trial tomorrow, I'd be happy to represent you. Locum student, Mr. Naruhodo, Esquire. As I said, I only experienced a British courtroom for the first time yesterday. And although the man I was representing was found not guilty, I lost sight of something crucial. Something crucial? What to believe in? The defendant, justice, or the truth? How to believe, even. But I think I finally worked it out. I've decided I must believe in myself above all else, to trust my instincts. Yes, Mr. Naruhodo. Oh, that was Susato. Yes, Mr. Naruhodo. And my instincts are telling me that you, Mr. Natsume, are innocent of this crime. And it's imperative that we prove that in court. Locum student, Mr. Naruhodo, Esquire. I will fight for your innocence until the bitter end, with every weapon available to me. So I hope you'll permit me to represent you tomorrow. As I said when we first met, I'd like to entrust my fate to someone who will listen to me in my native tongue. Of course, Mr. Natsume. It would be fair to say, Mr. Naruhodo, that your mind was, in many ways, made up from the outset. You merely needed the events of today to fully realize it. Yes, I think you're right about that. It's been a roundabout journey, but I got there. In the end. One more time with the couple. Miss Susato. Yes? Would you be willing to stand by my side tomorrow and help me in court? Absolutely. As I said this morning, you may consider me your personal judicial assistant. The shocking events of yesterday's trial still weigh heavily on my mind, but it's time to stop looking backwards. Kazuma believed in me, and Mr. Sholmes believes in me now too. So it's time. Time that I learn to believe in myself. Soseki has no one. He's all alone, so it's my job to help him, to fight his corner. tomorrow, in the courtroom, with all the strength I can muster. Oh, I always think that like there's a second half to the sentence. With all the strength I can muster. Period. To be continued. Yeah, I knew the chapter was coming to an end, but I had to stop last time. Save your current progress. Yes. And we're back in the defendant's antechamber. Well, I never expected this. Who'd have thought we'd be back here again so soon? We are on a study tour of Great Britain with the intention of learning the country's legal practices. In order to research the latest court procedures here, we need as much court experience as possible. Well, yes, I suppose that's true, but for the person in the dock, it may well be his or her one and only time in court, and it could be life-changing. In which case, treating it as research may seem a little crass. Oh, when you put it like that, you're quite right. Good morning. Ah, Mr. Natsume. Good morning. Oh dear, are you alright? What is with this guy? Your eyes are terribly bloodshot. They are pink. The early bird catches the worm, as they say here in Britain. Yes, I've heard that expression. But I really don't want to catch a worm. I've heard from people who translate idioms to other languages, particularly Japanese, that something about the idiom often loses its punch in the translation. Like, people from other countries don't understand them. They're like, what are you talking about? So I tried desperately not to wake up early, but I was so worried I couldn't catch a wink. Now I'm absolutely exhausted as a result. Do all literary people take things so literally? Thank you for putting your faith in us today, Mr. Natsume. I wish I had 9 lives. My whole future hangs in the balance. I'm too terrified to tremble. Really, because I can feel tremors in the floor. I can't do this. I can't take it. Although, locum student Mr. Naruhodo, Esquire. Yes? I caught a glimpse of the public gallery as I walked by the courtroom. It looked like the opening night of the opera. There were so many people. I had no idea my case was such a notorious affair here in London. Oh, neither did I. Do you know why that might be, Mr. Sato? I'm sorry, Mr. Naruhodo. I have no idea. So that know-it-all look on your face is just a coincidence, then, is it? Don't hide the truth from me. It's because of the Reaper, isn't it? Lord Van Zeeks? Is that right, Mr. Sato? I purchased as many different newspapers as I could find this morning, and yes, Lord Van Zeeks is on the front page of every one. I knew it. Sometime after the prosecutor was dubbed the Reaper of the Bailey, he stopped appearing in court, it seems. It's been several years now, in fact, until the day before yesterday. Yes, Inspector Gregson told us something similar, didn't he? The trial 2 days ago marked Lord Van Zeek's return to the courtroom after a very long hiatus. The trial of Magnus McGilded. What a harrowing experience that was. I believe that appearance made even greater waves here in the capital than today's. But we wouldn't have realized, of course, having only just arrived in the country. Why is the Reaper back in the Bailey so soon? For what appears to be a mundane murder. That's the question the papers are asking. They are all speculating various answers. Mundane? Mundane? It's the most significant saga of the century to some of us. Oh dear, I meant no offense, Mr. Natsume. But that is how the papers are describing it. Well, lest we also forget the fact that it could spark an international incident. Obviously, the reappearance of this infamous prosecutor has caught people's attention. But there's another blatant similarity with the trial of 2 days ago. Yes, I agree. And that is that you're dead meat. Or, I'm sorry, locum student Mr. Natsume, or Mr. Naruhodo Esquire. It's you! Me? Well, I suppose that's true. Both times, it is you who stands against the legendary prosecutor. It can only mean that you're friends with the Reaper! Please, I don't rub shoulders with Deathbringers. I'm afraid that there's really only one other explanation. It can only be another example, Mr. Naruhodo, of your uncommon bad luck. Thanks for that. Oh, this is just my luck. Why must I be represented by a man with such frail fortune? By the least lucky lawyer alive. Hey, I won! And I proved my innocence twice with the charge of murder. Let's not forget that it was you, Mr. Natsume, who asked me to represent you. It was me or nothing. Yes, it's true that I'm just a student, but it's true I'm just a student new to London with little in the way of experience or skill or luck. But I promise you this. I will fight your corner until the bitter end, and I will believe in you, Mr. Natsume. Oh, benevolent locum student, Mr. Naruhodo Esquire. I wish he'd stop saying that. You're not alone here with us, Mr. Natsume. Whatever happens, we will always be on your side. Oh, benevolent non-locum assistant, Miss Mikotoba Esquires. I am in your debt forever. I shall never forget this great kindness. Mr. Natsume, counsel for the defense. The court session is about to begin. Kindly make your way into the courtroom at once. Alrighty then. Mr. Natsume, it's time. Let's go. Yes! This is it. My second appearance in a British courtroom. And my second trial against the Reaper. I hope you're watching over me, Kazuma. Because this time, I won't let my faith waver. I'll believe in my client to the last. Just like you believed in me. And I believe I can do this now. I'm ready for this fight. "10 a.m. sharp. The Old Bailey courtroom. In the name of Her Majesty the Queen, I hereby declare this court to be in session. I now call upon the counsels for the prosecution and defense to declare their willingness to proceed. The prosecution is fully prepared, my lord. The defense is ready, my lord. The Nipponese are a truly fascinating breed. That's racist. Sorry, what? Lord Strongheart has told me all about you. That you are a student who arrived in London, but 2 days ago, a mere amateur. Don't you remember me? I beat you yesterday. Do you have a point here? Okay, enough of the Dracula voice. Being a compatriot, you feel compelled to try to help the accused, I suppose. Typical Nipponese arrogance. Wow! There is a lot of racism in this game. Forgive me, but I do not believe arrogance is an appropriate description. Susato. After all, at our previous encounter, the defendant was found to be innocent. He was found to be not guilty. I don't like that his eyes don't move when he's pouring the glass. Looks like he's like looking through the cup. Very true, and a most fascinating, if dark, trial it was, too. The tragic conclusion came later, of course. Here's to the acquitted, and his unfortunate, violent end. Clack. Thank you, counsels. I see both sides are in fine fettle. Now, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, are you ready to carry out your duties here in the court as impartial members of the public? Oh my god. What's he doing here? He's not impartial. You never know when you might be down on your luck, but I believe in fair play for everyone. Yeah, he's going to be impartial. Well, I must warn you, I'm rather more ruthless than I appear. Oh, well, not me. What you see is what you get. I'm a peace-loving fellow. I'm afraid... is that the wife? I'm afraid to say I think it's quite possible that mustached foreigner did the deed. Come on, what are you waiting for? No doubt he did it anyway. And now we have the male version of the old woman from yesterday. Sorry, didn't quite catch that. Very well, let us proceed. Your opening statement, if you please, Lord Van Zeeks. Oh, it's starting to stutter again. I don't know what's up with this. Very recently, Great Britain signed an alliance with a rising power in the Far East. The accused in the dock today is a student from that same land, a certain Mr. Soseki Natsume. And while our country has extended this foreign student the warmest of welcomes, regrettably, the kindness has not been returned. In fact, this student is accused of a most sinister act. Of plunging a knife into the back of an innocent woman who was doing nothing but walking down the street. A knife crime! I tell you, from bitter experience, those are the worst. Bloody oath they are. Just look at that that sallow complexion and short stature. He's one of those dreadful Japanese. Oh, that's just blatantly racist. Come on, let's get this over with. With me now, everyone. 1, 2, 3. Sorry. Didn't quite catch that. Wonderful jury selection, of course. Pray, forgive the discourtesy of smashing my hallowed chalice here in this great chamber. You must have like a surplus of those chalices. Allow me to call the first witness to the stand. Very well. Bailiff, lead the inspector in, please. Your name and occupation, please. Right. Yes, sir. Tobias Gregson, Detective Inspector of Scotland Yard. Would you please summarize the events of the case for the court, Inspector? The victim is thought to be a young woman in her 20s by the name of Olive Green. I beg your pardon, Inspector. Thought to be? Yes. Having been stabbed in the back by her attacker's knife, the victim fell unconscious. That was 3 days ago now. She's been comatose ever since. What? So they don't even know who she is for sure? Comatose, I see. But her life is not in danger? Fortunately for the Eastern student, the charge will not be murder. Pray, elaborate on the details, Inspector. You mean you haven't stated the charge yet? What the hell kind of court is this? Sir, if I could ask everyone to look at this street map. As I mentioned, the incident took place 3 days ago at around 5 in the afternoon. It happened on the pavement running alongside Briar Road, a wide thoroughfare with horse-drawn vehicles. It had not long since stopped snowing. It had not since stopped snowing. Not long since stopped snowing as the victim, Miss Green, was walking down the street. I can't do whatever accent he's trying to, whatever accent that's supposed to be. I'm having a hard time figuring out exactly what that's supposed to be. Out of the blue, she was approached from behind by the accused and stabbed in the back. Luckily, the young lady's life was spared, and she's currently being treated in one of the city's hospitals. But being unconscious as she is, we've been unable to take a statement from her, of course. This is the case file with everything we know about the victim so far. Thank you, Inspector. The court will accept the documents as evidence, if you please. Case file has been entered into the court record. Excellent. We should check that out first opportunity we get. What of the weapon that was used? Sir, I have that here. It was removed from the victim's back. Ouch, that big thing is starting to make me scared to walk down the street now. With a heavy blade like that, almost anybody would have been able to stab the poor woman. Even the scragged-looking Soseki, scragged-looking? Even the scragged-looking Soseki, I suppose. A common or garden jackknife, I would say. Rather nondescript. Thank you, Inspector. The court accepts the blade as evidence. The jackknife has been entered into the court record. Excellent. Now then, what do we know about the motive? Money or valuables, I presume? From what we can tell by looking at the woman's possessions, it seems she's a poor student herself. Hard to imagine she would have had anything much worth pinching, my lord. I see. Well, in that case, are we looking at some deep-seated resentment toward the victim? I'm afraid I couldn't say. Apart from visiting secondhand bookshops, the defendant, Mr. Natsume, doesn't appear to get out much. At this moment in time, we haven't been able to establish any sort of connection between him and the victim.
Yes!
Yes! What do you want, Renosuke? If theft and grievance had been ruled out as the motive, what reason could Mr. Natsume possibly have had for stabbing the young woman? Yet you arrest the man in spite of that, in a total, unjustified, and heavy-handed way.
Objection!
Objection! Pray forgive the discourtesy of flinging a freshly corked bottle into the public gallery. But your words have soured its hallowed bouquet. For it is you, my learned friend, who is being heavy-handed here. Nani? Scotland Yard does not arrest people without good cause. That should be beyond question. Inspector Gregson, the prosecution calls for your formal testimony. Explain to the court precisely why the constabulary, oh my god, these words, came to arrest the Nipponese student. Constabulary, okay. Yes, sir. Constabulary. Okay. As I said, it was 5 o'clock in the afternoon when the incident occurred, and there was an unusually light fog. Visibility was reasonably good, and there was no one else about but the victim and the accused. Out of the blue, the victim was stabbed from behind and subsequently collapsed onto the pavement. The accused ran off, scattered his belongings all over the floor. Wait, let me read that again. The accused ran off, scattering his belongings all over the floor. Okay. Those being a number of old books he'd just bought. He was on his way home from a bookshop, it seems. It was just a matter of working out who the books belonged to, and we found the bloke to arrest him. Old books, you say? Yes, my lord, I have a photograph here of the scene of the crime, taken immediately after the incident. How pleasant. Ah, yes, I can clearly see the books to which you are referring. I will take that photographic print as evidence, please, Inspector. The crime scene photograph has been entered into the court record. Thank you. Your Nipponese are a spineless breed, too cowardly to admit defeat. Wow. Denying everything despite overwhelming evidence to the contrary. Well, forgive me, Lord Van Zeeks, but the defendant is not denying everything, as you put it. What are you doing, Mr. Sato? Shut up, shut up, shut up. Do go on. Mr. Natsume has admitted to playing some part in the incident. Isn't that right, Mr. Naruhodo? Well, now that you mention it, when we visited him in the prison yesterday, he did tell us what had all happened. Oh, just say it. Don't do a flashback. As I was walking along the accursed pavement, I could make out the sole silhouette of another ahead of me. A woman wearing a green overcoat, she was. And just as I went to overtake her, she suddenly let out a little scream and collapsed onto the cold, hard slab of stone at my feet. I was terrified. I had to get away from there. So I ran. I ran so far. Wait, did I already do that joke? Never mind. So I ran as fast as my legs would carry me back to my accursed lodgings. A green overcoat? Well, that's exactly what the woman is... Well, that's exactly what the woman in the print is wearing. Oh my, a photographic print in full color! What will the world come up with next? The defendant has done nothing more than admit that he fled the scene of a terrifying incident. That does not mean that he's guilty of the heinous crime of stabbing a woman in the back. There was nobody else there at the time, just the two of them, the victim and the accused. In other words, there is nobody else who could possibly have stabbed the woman. A fact that the accused concedes. It seems this cross-examination would prove to be pivotal. Pivotal? It seems this cross-examination could prove to be pivotal, counsel. Proceed, please. Yes, my lord. Nothing for it. I have to use this cross-examination to turn the tables here. It's our only chance. Excuse me, did you bring food into the courtroom, sir? I hope you brought enough for everybody. As I said, it was 5 o'clock in the afternoon when the incident occurred. There was an unusually light fog. What's there now? A light fog, you say? Well, light for London. you could see the opposite side of the street for once. Not much farther, though. That's light, is it? Around these parts, yes, not something I'd expect a Japanese fellow like yourself to know, of course. Alright, can we stop with the racism? I've read that London is famous for its fog. But in my country, people usually imagine that gives the city a rather beautiful appearance. How quaint. Yes, well, it's not something us Londoners tend to romanticize, as I expect you can appreciate. I see. This time of year, the fog causes a large number of accidents, especially when it's heavy. Sometimes you can't even see your own hand at the end of your arm. Indeed. The other day I was very nearly trampled by horses before I could see the carriage they were pulling. Susato and I should definitely remember to stop, look, and listen. However, on the day that concerns us, the fog was somewhat lighter than usual. A fact, no doubt, lamented by the accused. Visibility was reasonably good, and there was no one else about but the victim and the accused. How are you able to state that with any certainty? Quite simply, my learned friend, because that is what the witnesses to the crime have told us. Ah yes, Inspector Gregson mentioned the witnesses yesterday, didn't he? Well, we should get their testimony first before we start submitting what they said, don't you think? That's not fair. That's right, one of them is a policeman, I believe, from Scotland Yard. That is correct, ma'am. Then we must hear their testimony. Exactly. The prosecution will, of course, call them to the stand, should it be necessary. But wait a minute. At 5 o'clock in the afternoon, in the middle of winter, it would have been dark already. No matter how light the fog might have been, no one could have seen. I'm unaware of the situation of your tiny island in the east. But here in the capital city of Great Britain, all main roads are illuminated in the night by gas streetlights. Ah! The prosecution believes there would have been ample light by which two witnesses the crime. Prosecution believes there would have been ample light by which to witness the crime. Quite. Here in London, for the first time in history, mankind has completely conquered the darkness. Which means we really need to hear those witness statements. If I could just get through the fog of this cross-examination, maybe we'll be able to. Seems the counsel for the defense is taking stock. Continue with your testimony, Inspector. Out of the blue, the victim was stabbed from behind and subsequently collapsed on the pavement. Oh, no. Get back to that one.
Hold it!
Hold it! From behind, you say? That's right. As you can see from this print. Yes, quite so, Inspector. The handle of the weapon is clearly protruding from the victim's back. You say this poor woman, Miss Green, remains in critical condition? Comatose, no less? I'm sorry, how does a knife wound do that? I'm afraid so, my lord. Yes, she's being treated at Bart's. I was hopeful that she'd come round before the trial started so I could take a statement, but it wasn't to be. Yes, that is indeed a pity. It would have been most illuminating to hear the victim's own account of events. Luck is on your client's side, it seems. On the contrary, my client has been exceedingly unlucky. Your force of tone is seriously undermined by those disturbingly wide eyes, I'm afraid. Ugh. Hughes ran off, scattering his belongings all over the floor. Mr. Natsume's belongings? I think you'll find it's all there in the photographic print of the crime scene. Oh yeah, we should look at the evidence. Yes, the 3 books on the floor. That tripped me up when I first read that because they said the floor. Outside, at least in American English, we don't refer to the outside ground as floor. We call it the ground. So I don't know if that's a thing in England, but that was weird. That's right, my lord. Second-hand books they were. Irreparably damaged after falling in the snow, of course. Really? The accused could easily have carried all 3 books in one hand. Which means his other hand would have been free to wield a knife, for example. He's very clever, isn't he? What do you mean? He made it extremely hard for you to assert that Mr. Natsume had his hands full with his books. He managed to close one avenue of escape we might have had before we even knew it was there. You mean to say that the defendant was holding his belongings as he thrust the knife into the woman's back? Right. That must be what happened, my lord, yes. Those being a number of old books he just bought. He was on his way home from the bookshop, it seems. Okay, I'm gonna take this time to look at the evidence, because... Okay, a young woman rendered unconscious following a stab wound in the back. Green, stout. Okay. Reporting officer, Rolly beat. What's this? Your books. Oh yeah, this is the, what is this, the receipt? Yeah. Picture of, Monsieur Lecoq. A meal for... I can't even read that word. Canterbury Yearnings, okay. Oh, that's the local map. Okay, let's look at this knife. That's not a knife. Oh, the very tip is missing. Look at that. What's that all about? Oh, look here, Mr. Naruhodo. Just at the tip, a small piece of the blade appears to be missing. You're right. Well spotted, Mr. Sato. I wonder what could have happened to it. Yes. You don't think it could still be lodged in the victim, do you? Oh dear, I do hope not. That sounds terribly painful. Where that tip ultimately ends up, and it will end up somewhere, mind you, will be profound, I'm sure. Why is this knife so clean? Oh, that's how you open and unopen it. That's not a clue. Okay. Okay, I guess we're done looking at the knife. Now let's look at the photo. This magnifying glass doesn't seem to do much. In fact, I dare say it's mostly useless. Or totally useless, rather. In fact, it seems to obscure more than it helps. Okay, there's a button. Okay, back to cross-examining this guy. Cross-examining? Cross-examining. In a number of old books he just bought. Okay, let's talk about that. The defendant apparently visits a second-hand bookshop on a daily basis. Yes, so I understand. A shop full of Old English literature. I commend the accused on the lofty subject matter of his scholarly attention. The bloke's room was stacked floor to ceiling with those musty old books. Can you tell us more about the bookshop in question, please, Inspector? Well, if I must, I'll have to ask you to look at the street map again, I'm afraid. Bourbon Books. The closest secondhand bookshop to the accused's lodgings is this place here. Bourbon Books. The place on the corner of Briar Road and Meerschaum Street. As it happens, the accused is currently living in lodgings on the other side of Briar Road, at the opposite end, which means it doesn't take a genius to work out the route he would have taken home, except that wasn't the bookstore. Something like this. The local map's information has been updated in the court record. Now come on, you would have gotten a statement from him where you would have known that that's not where he was. Yes, I concur with your conclusion, Inspector. The defendant would certainly have passed the scene of the crime on his way home from that particular shop. Mr. Naruhodo, I think that what the inspector just told us could turn out to be of vital importance. Yeah, you think? Yes, I agree. Most important point to the inspector just made. The most important point that the inspector just made being the bookshop's name. Actually, both of the first two there. Inspector Gregson, may I ask you a favor? What? Would you kindly add the name of the bookshop to your formal testimony, please? I believe it may be of vital importance. Maybe? Oh, well, you know, I mean, yes. It could be a very important clue. Very well. Not that I can see it being of any great significance, but please revise your testimony accordingly, Inspector. Right, yes, sir, my lord. Whatever you say. Could the man be any more sardonic? He was on his way home from Bourbon Books, a secondhand... Okay. Hold that thought, Inspector. Because we gotta talk here. Your books.
Objection!
Objection. If I could just stop you right there, Inspector Gregson. What is it, Sunshine? I'm a busy man, you know. This is a receipt that we found in Mr. Natsume's room. It was issued on the day of the incident and details the purchase of 3 second-hand books. And you found that in the accused's room, did you? Yes, but the point is not where the receipt was found, but the name of the shop printed on it. Go on. This receipt was issued from a bookshop called Your Books. Your Books? Y-O-R-E, I presume? Yes, my lord. So Mr. Natsume did indeed purchase a number of books at a second-hand bookshop that day. However, the bookshop in question was not Bourbon Books. What? Inspector, do you know of this other bookshop? Yes, sir. Your Books is another second-hand bookshop not far from Bourbon Books. It's just that, well, it's such a small place, I didn't think the accused would have known about it. Objection. But in fact, that is the bookshop which the defendant visited on the day in question. And this receipt proves it. Objection. Yes, for what difference it makes. Wherever the man purchased his musty tomes, it makes no difference in the final analysis. Objection. I disagree. I mean, after all, I have a street map here, if that might be of help. Oh, yes, thank you. Have a look at this, please. If the defendant had been returning from Bourbon Books, then yes, he would almost certainly have passed the place where Miss Green was attacked. However, if we take into account the fact that he was actually at another bookshop, Your Books, it may very well turn out that he wouldn't have passed that location at all. Could that be true? My, it rather depends on where this other bookshop is, but I do declare it may be a possibility. Is that right, Mr. Lawyer, sir? What you just said? Absolutely. It absolutely could be right. Well, where is the other bookshop? Tell us. Inspector Gregson, where's this Your Books establishment? Yeah, it is stuttering a little bit. Well, obviously we looked into that. Turns out that Your Books, you looked into it but you didn't tell anybody, is just here on the next corner of Meerschaum Street going east. Local map information has been updated in the court record. And there you have it. As you can clearly see now, the route home would have been exactly the same. See how weird his eyes look when he pours the cup? Because the eyes should be narrowing together when he does something that's closer to his body. My learned Nipponese friend is obviously my tongue. My learned Nipponese friend is obviously in training to be a clown, the way he regales us with such witticisms. To your future career in the circus. You put that glass down or I'll put it down for you. I didn't think I needed to spell it out, but here we go. If the accused was coming home from Your Books instead of Bourbon Books, there's no doubt he still would have passed the place where the victim was stabbed. Yes, thank you, Inspector. Allow me to reiterate for my learned, if somewhat slow, Nipponese friend. Wherever the man purchased his musty tomes, it makes no difference in the final analysis. As I suspected, you can't fool me, and I don't suggest you try. What did I say, eh? I've had enough of this now. Beg your pardon? Terribly sorry. What, would you mind repeating that? Oh, Jesus Christ. Mr. Naruhodo, we mustn't give up. What do you mean? If the prosecution's assertion is correct, the members of the jury may very well decide that Mr. Natsume is guilty. Ah, she's absolutely right. We must consider the assertion just put forward by the prosecution very, very carefully. The claim Soseki must have passed the location of the incident on his way home from Your... Oh, they claim Soseki must have passed the location of the incident on his way home from Your Books, but... sure, we'll raise an objection. It'll cost us one strike. What the hell? The assertion just made by the prosecution is fundamentally flawed. Explain yourself, counsel. Yes, my lord. You see, you can see what I mean on this map. I'm not even sure what I mean. When returning from Your Books to his lodgings, Mr. Natsume could have followed the route suggested by the prosecution. However, That isn't the only conceivable route to take between the two places. Well, what did our client say to us? Did he say he was going down Briar Road? I don't remember. If the defendant used these streets, look what happens. He arrives back at his lodgings without passing the location where the victim was attacked. Objection! Unfortunately, we have his statement saying that he was about to overtake the woman, so that's not possible. This is just stalling. Talking back to a clown is a fool's errand, of course. However, I feel compelled to point out that that route is what is commonly referred to as the long way around. Ah. On a cold winter's night, why would any man choose to take a longer route home? Well, the answer is extremely simple. He wouldn't. In other words, the accused took the obvious route back to his lodgings and is the obvious perpetrator of this crime. Objection! Yes, I've got it. Obviously, we must ask the man himself, ask Mr. Natsume which route he took home. I have already informed the court that the accused response to such... of the accused response to such questioning. He claims he has no recollection. That's right. As I said, the bloke seems to spend his time outside wandering aimlessly from A to B. That day was no exception. He says he doesn't remember where he was or which route he took home. I don't believe this. Oh my god, the stuttering. Next save chance I'll get, I'll have to reset the computer and see what's going on here. I thank you, my learned friend. I suggest that we do not waste any more of the court's time by wandering aimlessly around this subject. Pray, what say you, insightful jurors? But even if that is the case, the defense... Hold it! What's this now? I agree with Lord Van Zeeks. Wholeheartedly, and in every way. What? I don't believe it. Does this mean... We members of the jury are completely convinced now. Very well. In that case, I hereby call upon all members of the jury to present your findings to the court.
Guilty.
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 What? Oh, now that old man hears. Well, that was a short episode. It would appear the jury's leaning is unanimous. To the insightful members of the jury, I applaud your brave resolve. You serve Queen and country admirably. Mr. Naruhodo. I'm dead, Susato. Don't disturb me. No, not yet. This isn't over yet. I have one last chance to sway the opinion of the jury. What was that thing you had yesterday? I have to tip the balance of those scales the other way. I have to turn this around. Somehow. Those are the eyes of quarry not yet willing to give up and die. So I presume you intend to wield your right again in this trial. Right of the defense written into antiquated British law that should have been buried long ago. Call it antiquated if you will, but it's the defense's prerogative to carry out a summation examination if it so chooses. Very well, counsel. In accordance with the letter of the law, We shall proceed with a summation examination. Are the members of the jury ready, Mr. Foreman? Of course we're ready. I'm all too familiar with that Nipponese whippersnapper and his uncas refusal to throw in his alley. Very well then, ladies and gentlemen of the jury. You will each explain on what grounds you have determined the defendant to be guilty. Judicial findings. For pity's sake, that little Nipponese oddity already admitted it himself, didn't he? If he said that a woman in green collapsed before his eyes, why it can only have been the victim. The man wouldn't have gone around the houses on his way back from the bookshop, not in winter. So the poor woman was attacked from behind, was she? How dreadful! I really don't care. Can't we just wrap this up now? I've got work to be doing. Your books, yes, nice shop that. But bourbon books? No, not worth a visit. Okay. With only minor exceptions, the reasons for finding the defendant guilty are all too clear. Not really. Some of them didn't really give an answer. When the stabbing occurred, the only two people at the scene were the victim and the accused. And the accused himself has admitted to seeing the victim in her green overcoat sink to the ground before his eyes. Furthermore, we have heard from the inspector that the defendant then fled the scene. I must say I would have ample grounds to convict this man already. Oh dear, even the judge appears convinced of Mr. Natsume's guilt now. Ugh, why did he have to run away like that? How are we supposed to believe in some phantom attacker that nobody could see? This is impossible. How can I possibly make a case for the defense? Mr. Naruhodo, this is no time for grumbling. We want to force the trial to continue. Yes, I know. I have to turn the tide. I must make the jurors change their minds. Well, 4 of them at least. Well, this should be fun. Exactly. We have no choice but to forge forward. Clack. You have the floor, counsel. Begin your summation examination. Yes, my lord. Here goes nothing. Just need to keep this trial going somehow. Whatever it takes. Come on, Renosuke. You can do it. You can do it, Nikki. The defense's rebuttal. Already admitted himself, didn't he? He didn't, really. If he said that a woman in green collapsed before his eyes, why it can only have been the victim. The man wouldn't have gone around the houses on his way back from the bookshop, not in winter. The poor woman was attacked from behind, she was. Was she? How dreadful. Okay. Okay, these two talk about the woman, but I don't really see an objectable statement here. I don't really care. Can't we just wrap this up now? I've got work to be doing. More books. Yes, nice shop that, but bourbon books. Not worth a visit. Okay. Well, you're not giving a satisfactory answer there, buddy. Was attacked from behind, was she? How dreadful. And wouldn't have gone around the houses on his way. Huh. Can I use evidence? Let's look at the case file again. Oh, 1 of 2 pages. Victim remains unconscious. Her name came from her personal effects. Other details are unknown. A single stab wound from the knife. No other signs of injury were observed. The assailant was seen running away by the reporting officer and was successfully arrested the following day. Okay. Pavement on Briar Road, east side. Rendered unconscious following a stab wound to the back. Victim remains unconscious. Her name was gleaned from her personal effects. Other details unknown. Apart from a single stab wound from a large knife, no other signs of injury were observed. The assailant was seen running away by the reporting officer and was successfully arrested. The thing is, he wouldn't have had that far to run. A large but commonplace folding knife. It was found lodged in the victim's back. I don't know. So, like, the idea is that he came this way and encountered her here. This is the east side of the street. He wouldn't have crossed this way and come down that way. Could he have gone between the buildings? I don't think so. I don't know. What am I looking for here? I am completely confused. Okay, let's look at these statements. The man wouldn't have gone around the houses on his way back from the bookshop. So the poor woman was attacked from behind, was she? Oh, dreadful. I don't really care. Can't we just wrap this up now? I've got work to be doing. More books. Nice shop, that. But bourbon books? No, not worth a visit. Can I don't know, I can't... Oh, I can press them! Okay, well... Could I have done that last time? I don't remember pressing the jurors.
Hold it!
Maybe, I don't know. Excuse me, but... Aren't you... Yes, that's right. I was in the witness stand myself just 2 days ago. Yes, I had a feeling I knew your face. Or the sight of it, anyway. If I remember correctly, you're a banker, aren't you? That's right. After the gold rush down under, came back to London to work. And it was all going swimmingly until you started fossicking around. Bruce Fairplay was a man of repute. Sorry? Don't think I've forgotten how you treated me the other day. You had me and the young hatter pegged as criminals. Oh, well, you know, water under the bridge. Now there's all sorts of rumors buzzing around as the police have been badgering me nonstop. If I could turn back the clock... Well, anyway, I don't know about the hatter, but at least I'm in the clear now. And free to make up my own mind about who's guilty and who isn't. Huh. Thank goodness. Alright. Maybe I can struggle to change this man's mind, given our awkward history. Oh dear, I wonder what's become of Mr. First now. Okay.
Hold it!
You're right that at the time of the incident, The defendant admits to having seen someone wearing a green overcoat walking ahead of him. Well, quite. That's precisely my point. Clearly that someone wearing green was the victim. And clearly that funny little Nipponese man with the disturbing mustache is the culprit. But let us not forget, madam, the defendant vehemently denies attacking the woman. Why, of course he does. If he admits to stabbing her, his life is over. The man is obviously a liver-faced coward, honestly, claiming the woman simply collapsed before his eyes. But if that's a lie, as you're suggesting, do you not think he would have concocted something more credible? Oh, really? I couldn't say. After all, you are foreign. Jeez. Who's to say what goes through your funny little minds? I could tell you what's going through my funny little mind right now, and you wouldn't like it. I do declare that the man has already made the admission. He himself has stated that there was nobody else around. Surely, the conclusion is obvious. No one else could possibly have committed this awful crime. Ugh, why does everyone keep calling me Shirley? If no one else could have done it, the accused must be the man. Really, it couldn't be more simple. Your argument is compelling in its simplicity, I must admit. Don't you do this to me, Judge. Oh my, you are too kind, my lord. That went well for her. Okay, we need to talk to you, because I have a feeling you're gonna be the guy I need to talk to. But you can't deny that there are other routes Mr. Natsume could have taken back from your books. Oh yes, like you drew on the map, you mean. What was it? Calabash Road or something? Precisely. But it seems to me that what counts is whether the little Japanese fellow actually went that way or not. Well, yes, that's true. At the moment, there's no proof that shows he did, is there? Well, yes, that's true as well. Don't admit that! You're saying the quiet part out loud. As I understand it, the accused himself doesn't remember which way he went, does he? Well, yes, that's annoyingly true. Winter nights are dark and cold, so the way I see it, you'd want to get home as quickly as possible. Well, yes. Why is all this true? So really, the only thing that makes sense is that he went home along Briar Road. I'm supposed to be convincing you here. I have given it a lot of thought, you know. Didn't just make up my mind on a whim that he did it. I mean, there was some logical reason why he might have gone the Calabash way. It'd be different. I'd be happy to reconsider my position in that case. Honest, I would. Reason why Soseki might have taken the longer way home. Yes, a good reason. I don't imagine you'll be able to sway the young man's opinion without one. So the poor woman was attacked from behind, was she? How dreadful!
Hold
it! Oh wait, get out of that menu. Whatever is the matter, young man? You're the wife of Mr. Garadeb, aren't you? The landlord who rents Mr. Natsume his room. Yeah, you should not be on the jury. What the hell? The master's wife? Where do you get your ideas, sir? I'm the maid. The maid, you understand. She's keeping up the charade. This is going to be awkward. Why didn't you mention this yesterday? That you'd been selected for the jury in this trial, I mean? Well, I was told not to mention it to anyone until the day of the trial, you see. It was in the letter I received. The instructions were very clear, so I'm afraid I had no choice. Seems to me I should be involved in the jury selection. I see. Anyway, Mr. Natsume, the defendant, takes lodging in your master's house, doesn't he? Yes, that's right. Although he's only been in a little over a week now. And at that time, surely you must have taken stock of his character. Does Mr. Natsume look like the kind of man who would commit a crime such as this? Oh my goodness me, yes! He's just the sort. What? Spending all his time in that dark, dingy room, sporting that unscrupulous mustache. The man never speaks, and don't get me started on those shifty eyes. All the neighbors are talking about him. This woman's voice, believe it or not, is harder to do than the guy on the ship. I've heard him, you know. People think he must be building a bomb in there or something. Oh dear, poor Mr. Natsume. How could people say such things about him? He's just a harmless bookworm, nothing more. And people think he was gonna do a Pearl Harbor job on someone. Well, you just called him a worm, so... Anyway, I'd better be careful about inviting this maid to speak. She's said enough damning things already. Okay, you don't really have a reason, so let's talk to you.
Hold it!
You don't care? What kind of shitty opinion is that? A man's life is on the line here. This will take as long as it takes. Don't get clever with me now, son. My life's on the line, too. So is my family's. Ah. Likes of you wouldn't understand, but a laborer like me can't afford to take time off. If I don't work, I don't eat. Neither do the wife and kids. Oh, I see. That must be very hard. So, I go to the union every morning to find out what needs doing. If you're late and the work's taken, it's tough. This time of year, there's water and gas supply pipes bursting left, right, and center. They're after cheap labor to get the roads dug up to fix it. It's a hard slog from dawn till dusk, it is. So, you were digging up the roads on the day of the incident as well, were you? That's right. Which road, I wonder? In fact, I remember rightly. It was just around the corner from where it all happened. By that old bookshop it was. What? Another coincidence. That's right. Meerschaum Street it was. Meerschaum Street. On the map, Mr. Naruhodo, there are only three named streets. Juror number 5. I need you to address that information to your formal statement, please. What's the point in that? Can't we just get this business over with now? Please, sir, it's important. Fine, I'll do it then. On the day it happened, I was digging up Meerschaum Street from dawn till dusk. Wait, I gotta... Can I press this again? Hold it! So, if I understand correctly, you're a day laborer and you were doing road maintenance that day. That's right. Like I said, you get a lot of burst gas and water pipes underground in the middle of winter. It's the only time of year fellows like me can actually make a few bob. And I'm missing out today. When you say from dawn till dusk, that work has to be completed within the day, see? No coaches or pedestrians can pass while it's happening. I wonder if I could trouble you, sir, to mark on this street map the exact location of the work you were carrying out. Give it here, then. Let me have a look. Aha. Right, let's see, then. Here we are. Meerschaum Street. Yes, it was just here, like... It was a tidy dig, I can tell you. We had to get through all the drifts of snow that had frozen solid. And at what sort of time did you finish the work? Well, we started in the morning, and we can't have finished before gone 6, I'd say. The snow had stopped coming down, and it was long past dark for sure. That means the road work was still going on when Miss Green was attacked at 5 o'clock. Road work on Meerschaum Street. Your books, yes. Nice shop, that. But bourbon books. Not worth a visit. Okay, can I present the map to this guy now? Maybe I can just pit.
Objection.
Objection. Those two statements are clearly at odds with one another. At odds, counsel? Explain yourself. Please don't point. It wasn't me, I swear. Eh? What? I just want to get this done and dusted. Well, juror number 3? Oh, me, sir? What do you mean? Juror number 5's words just now are extremely significant. Let's take a moment to consider the implication of what's been said on our map of the local area. On the day in question, Mr. Natsume visited this bookshop to purchase a number of second-hand books. And on the same day, we know that there were works being carried out on Meerschaum Street, making it impassable. Which means that the defendant's route home could not have taken him along Meerschaum Street and down Briar Road. Oh, yes, of course. What do you think, sir? Well, yes, you can't argue with that, really, can you? We must have had a good 2 yards or more of the pavement up. Every gentleman and gentlewoman that came along had to turn back and go the other way. So the only conclusion is this. The defendant must have taken the longer route back to his lodgings. Yes, I suppose he must have. I suppose that must be right, eh? Juror number 3, you said the following. The man would have had gone around the houses on his way back from the bookshop, but we see now that he had no choice. Yes! My lord, Mr. Judge, sir, if I may. Yes? I don't think in all good conscience that I can say the man's guilty now. Yes, I'd like to see this trial continue so we can get to the bottom of what really happened. What about you, sir? Eh? Who? Me? Well, alright then. There's a hole in the prosecution's argument. It should be filled in. That's what I say. Oh, well done, Mr. Naruhodo. That was wonderful. Well, we've managed to change a couple minds at least. It strengthened our position somewhat. Yes, and it will prompt the other members of the jury to reconsider their stance as well. They'll be asking themselves if their current leanings are really right or not. Now, if we could just identify one more clue or discrepancy that would make them stop doubting Mr. Natsume, we might be able to tip the balance completely. Yes, that's exactly what we've got to do. Van Zeeks is looking to bring this trial to an early conclusion. That's what we have to prevent, by whatever means we have at our disposal. Thank you, counsel. On with the summation examination, please. Yes, my lord. I have to say not guilty at this point. Oh. Oh, dreadful. Okay, you're the only one. Let's talk to you.
Hold it!
Sorry? Fold it, you say? Fold what? No. What I said was hold it. This guy's gonna be really annoying. What I wanted to ask was, do you visit your books often? I like the old books they have in there. Yes, I enjoy reading them over a nice cup of old tea. That's my daily routine, you see. Same thing every day, including the day you're all talking about. I wonder if this guy's married to the old woman. And at what time did you visit your books on the day in question? Well, I was picking out books in there all afternoon, and it would have been just before 5 that I left. That's my daily routine, you see. Same thing every day, including the day you're all talking about. Just before 5, you say. Exactly when the victim was attacked. Are you sure about the time? Oh, yes, no mistake there. I remember it well. I'm not about to forget that day in a hurry. Not after the dreadful time I had. What do you mean? Well, I was walking down Calabash Road when I slipped on the ice and donked my head. He's wearing a green coat. You know, it's always worse after the snow stopped falling. That's when it's mostly slippery. Knocked myself clean out, I did. I really thought my number was up. Wait a minute. Let me get this straight. This happened on Calabash Road? That's right. I live in Cornpipe, you see. Heading down Calabash is the quickest way for me to get back from your books. Juror number 6, I must insist that you add that information to your formal statement. It may very well be extremely significant. Sorry? Extremely sick? No, I'm quite all right now. Okay. You've changed 2 jurors' minds, Mr. Naruhodo. Yes, just 2 more to go. Deliver the finishing blow now. It's time to turn the tables here. Do it now. I wish I knew how to do a Susato takedown. I suppose words will have to suffice for now. And the kitty cat is here. Might have heard her yelping in the background just a minute or 2 ago. What do you want? Okay. Don't bump into the mic stand, please. For pity's sake. I can't read through you. Lay down. Japanese oddity already admitted it himself. That's racist. If he said the woman in green collapsed before his eyes, I can only have been the victim. Oh-ho! Oh-ho, we're gonna pit. Don't bump the mic stand, cat. Slipped over. Uh-huh. Objection. Those 2 statements clearly show a flaw in the juror's reasoning. A flaw? What are you talking about, counsel? Well, juror number 2, juror number 6. My, whatever do you mean, sir? I think perhaps the old man didn't hear you. Unbelievable. It's not like I was loud or anything. There is at least one fact of which I can't read through you, of which we can be sure here. The bookshop receipt found in the defendant's room. Stop that! Found in the defendant's room clearly indicates that on the day of the attack, he had been to your books and purchased a number of secondhand titles. He then returned home on foot. But the man says he has no recollection of his return journey. That's correct. But what he does remember is seeing someone appear in front of him on the way. Someone in a green overcoat who suddenly collapsed on the pavement before his eyes. Yes, we are well aware of this. The poor young woman who was stabbed, obviously. Objection. Can we really be sure of that, madam? My, whatever do you mean? I'm sure you heard juror number 6's account of what happened to him that day. That same afternoon, there was somebody else apart from the victim who was wearing a green overcoat and who fell over on the icy streets in the neighborhood. Oh my! My goodness, you mean? That's right. I'm referring, of course, to hard of hearing juror number 6. Are you really suggesting that the person in the green overcoat whom the defendant saw collapse in front of his eyes was the jolly old gentleman on the end of the bench here with me today? That is entirely possible, yes. After all, the old man has a somewhat similar build to the victim. Well, look at that. My goodness me. Sorry? You need a pee? Crucially, we know precisely where the old man in the green overcoat fell. On Calabash Road. Therefore, if the person whom Mr. Natsume saw collapsing in front of him was in fact juror number 6, it means the defendant must have taken the long route back to his lodgings. And if that's true, then clearly the crime scene on Briar Road where the woman was stabbed was not on his way home. Oh my! You idiot old man, if you hadn't been so daft as to be roaming about there, we'd have boxed this off hours ago. Oh, and really, what were you thinking wearing such a befuddling coat? What did you say to me? Is it a crime for the elderly to walk at the streets these days? Is it a crime to slip over on the ice? Is it a crime to keep up with the latest styles and wear a beautiful green overcoat? Is it? Hold it! My lord, I do hope it won't cause any inconvenience, but... You'd like to change your leaning, I presume? I do declare that I would. She's like a Southern belle. I do declare I would. I should like to call for a verdict of not guilty. Thank you. And I would too. What? Is it a crime to change your mind, is it? Well... Off we go. Well, that summation examination has now that the that summation examination has concluded with a rather large shift in opinion. The ayes 2, the noes 4. So the noes have it, not guilty, they say. Which means we no longer have a consensus among the members of the jury. The trial will continue.
Objection!
Objection! Could it seem churlish of me to drink from my hallowed chalice moments after raising an objection, only to crush it in disgust? Pray forgive the discourtesy. Lord Van Zeeks. It seems I must retract my earlier remark. What do you mean? I mistakenly credited these jurors with intelligence by describing them as insightful. Yet we have just witnessed them falling for a cheap trick performed by an Eastern entertainer. Eh? Whatever do you mean? Objection! I haven't tricked anyone. Everything I've said is the truth. Indeed, stalwart juror number 5 was undoubtedly repairing the road as he claims. I believe you said it was a good 2 yards of the pavement which you had excavated, sir? That's right. Took me the whole day, and they paid me a measly tuppence for it. Now, my learned Nipponese friend, tell me, do they have any notion of the disturbance that 2 yards represents? Well, if I'm honest, I don't have a clue, no. Since we're all on the metric system, what are yards? 2 yards is a little less than 2 meters. Less than 2 meters. That's not much at all. In other words, a disturbance readily vaulted by anyone of moderate vigor. Would you not agree, my stalwart friend? Me? Well, I can't say you're wrong, no. What? Did you perchance erect a sign to prevent pedestrians from passing the site of your works? The stuttering is really starting to bother me. I hope we're approaching a save point. I wouldn't dream of it. What a waste of time. No coaches would have had a hope of passing anyway. Anyway, we just turned any gentlefolk back when they came. Kids just jump right over us all the time. The accused is no gentleman as far as I can see. I have little doubt, however, that he could spring over a 2-yard trench in his meanderings around town. Is that true? Is it? The incontrovertible truth is that the books just purchased by the accused were found at the scene. There can be no doubt that on his way back to his lodgings, Mr. Natsume walked down Briar Road. Crushed in a single sentence. And, old man... Cold man? Cold man, you can talk. You say that around 5 o'clock on the day in question, you slipped and fell on Calabash Road. Pray, was there a suspicious-looking Nipponese behind you at the time? How would he know? Oh, I can't say I remember. You don't remember? How about a wager, my learned friend? You say it was this old man that the accused saw? But I would lay 1,000 to 1 against you being able to prove it. Well, I don't have to prove it. I just have to assert a reasonable doubt. Order! Look, Van Zieks, explain yourself. My lord, you had such a trenchant argument up your sleeve. If you had such a trenchant argument up your sleeve, why in the world did you not proffer it during the summation examination? Because you can't. I wanted to give this young foreign student the sightseeing experience he no doubt came for. I wanted him to see for himself how the opinion of the jury is so readily swayed. But my hospitality has its limits, and they have been reached, I feel. So, my learned friend, today's sightseeing tour of London is now over. What are you talking about? My lord, the prosecution requests permission to call its next witness to the stand. Granted. Bailiff, bring forth the witnesses. Its next witnesses? Mr. Naruhodo, do you not remember? We've been told on several occasions that there were eyewitnesses to the incident. Yes, I remember one of them being a Scotland Yard policeman, no less. I'm afraid that's likely to be the prosecution's next witness. Alright, no matter who Van Zieks brings to the stand as his witness, and no matter what they say, I believe in Soseki. I know he's innocent. And I'll keep believing to the very end, until this battle is over. Alright. Witnesses, please state your names and occupations for the court. I'm going to save and come back because the stuttering is bothering me. So hold on for just a moment.